We just finished a day in the life with John, went golfing, looked at properties, came to the office. We're gonna go get dinner now and then go to Paul's Park. And we sat down, I wanted to ask him some questions, what he does, kind of outlook on real estate, etc. And it turned into a full-blown interview. We got some really good content, so we're gonna turn this into a part 2 where you're gonna see the whole interview, me asking him questions. He actually asked me some as well. I hope you enjoy it. If you do, hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, subscribe so you can see all of our future videos and get notified for them. I'll see you guys soon. 2 months ago, I was in Arizona speaking at the Limitless conference, Ken McElroy, big real estate conference. And one thing they did is everyone who was speaking, they auctioned off like a day with. So there's a day with Mikey. And at the end of the day, John runs up to me, he goes, dude, I won, I used to skate, I can't wait to come spend the day with you. And he was from Arizona. So today he came out, drove down this morning, and we went golfing. We went and checked out a couple properties that we are about to close on. We're at our office, we're gonna go have dinner, and then we're gonna shoot over to P-Rod's Park, which is gonna basically end the day. But I want to do an interview with John because 1, he's young, he's 29. 2, he owns multiple real estate projects. He's in the mortgage industry, and he's actually moving into building a new business in kind of financial management, or really helping people get out of debt and understand finance, which is kind of right in our line, or in our lane, I think is better said. So where I want to start with you, 29, own multiple real estate projects, you're in the mortgage industry, you're doing a lot. Where did you get started? Like, what made you feel like you could own multiple properties at a young age?
I mean, really, I didn't think I could, to be honest with you, until I got into the industry. I started off as a salesman at Verizon, and I was 18 at the time. I was making 50 grand a year, and I thought at 18, I was like, this is great. I'm never gonna quit. And I wanted to be a police officer at the time, but going to college, I just wasn't into the whole college lane, that path. So got into Verizon, got into sales, really started learning how to work with people, how to talk to people, how to listen, how to ask the right questions to guide the client to the answer that we need to find, and moved up the chain. I didn't understand my self-worth at the time, to be honest with you. So I was just busting at Verizon, and I was a top performer. They would put me at a store that needed to be fixed, and just going there doing my thing. I didn't realize on the management level really what I was doing for the company. So they tapped me on the shoulder, hey, you should really apply for a store manager position. I was like, 22 years old, like I should be in charge of a sales team, like in charge of a store and inventory. And so I went that path because it was gonna be a new challenge, and of course I can't say no. So worked up the ranks, made more money, and I always knew I wanted to get into real estate. And the saying, 90% of millionaires have made their money in real estate, that resonated with me. That's what I was like, okay, well, my parents, middle America, they've made good money, but they aren't millionaires. They're not retired. They're not in a financial position where they can retire comfortably and still live an extravagant lifestyle. So I really woke up one day and I was like, what am I gonna do? And then how do I get there?
Okay, so going to step back, when you said you didn't know your self-worth, what do you mean by that?
What is consistent, especially with social media, I've noticed a lot of people just talk crap. Like a lot of people are more comfortable putting other people down rather than helping bring anyone up. And that, at an impressionable age of fresh out of high school and helping people with cell phones, and my level of value was solving problems with your phone bill or diagnosing your phone and fixing it. I didn't truly believe in myself until I started reading, until I started listening to Bigger Pockets. That's really what sparked my change. I was at a Christmas party and my buddy looked at me, he's like, hey man, that guy in the corner, he owns a real estate portfolio of like $3 million. And I was like, no shit, a portfolio, $3 million? Like, that's awesome. I want to pick his brain. So I walked up to him and I was like, hey man, like 33 years old, $3 million real estate portfolio. At the time I was 24, I believe. And I was like, hey man, like if I want to get to where you're at, What do I got to do? And he kind of chuckled and he was like, honestly, dude, just biggerpockets.com. Just check it out. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, and then what? And he was like, no, just check it out. Let me know. And so I dove in. Like every day driving to my job, every day at the gym, I was listening to Bigger Pockets podcasts. I was gaining the education in order to feel competent with what I was talking about, most importantly. Like, how do I talk the talk? What does it mean to be a real estate investor? And then you start reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then you start thinking like the difference between an asset and a liability. Okay, so then how do I move up the cash flow quadrant? Oh, well, I can't be a W-2, so I need to move up the chain. Let me go into self-employment. Okay, well, 1099, I'm getting pretty taxed over here. Let me go over to the business owner. The ultimate goal everyone wants in real estate is that passivity, the cash flow without the time. So everyone wants to get to that investor quadrant, but that roadmap is, I want to say it's hard, but really people just need to read more, to be honest with you.
So you got to a point where, one, you started educating yourself. Two, which I actually love this, and I think this is like one of the most valuable things anyone can do. You found somebody doing what you wanted to do and asked, how did you do this? Like what
That was also the hardest part.
Right.
So many people are scared of other people's judgment.
Right.
Or I can't walk up to that guy. I can't shake his hand. I can't ask questions. Why not?
Right.
Like that's the self-doubt that I was talking about.
You know what? And I'm gonna tell everybody watching this. When you ask somebody who's doing something that you want to do, how they did it, all of them will tell you. Like most people that have figured it out are willing to tell you exactly the blueprint because most people don't even take the step forward. So you'll find that there's nothing to be nervous about. Just ask away and you're gonna get insane information back.
Insane information, especially when you ask them for feedback and they give you the blueprint. Right. I've found the more I give people the blueprint, the less likely they are actually to do anything.
Yeah, that's the sad part. Actually, when we got into the beer industry, we were kind of tripping because everyone would tell you exactly the recipe on the beer they were making. Like, no, this is exactly how we do our blonde, go at it.
Here's the hops, here's the measurements.
Everybody was like open source in a sense. And you know, I think there were two parts to it. One, it's actually very hard to replicate an actual recipe in a different brewery. And two, I think unfortunately most people know it's not because of lack of information. It's because of lack of doing, which should be really encouraging. But I guess I'll ask you, are you Gen Z? Are you technically Gen Z or are you millennial? Is he early millennial?
I think I'm on that cusp. I'm 94.
Okay, so you're a millennial. You're low-end millennial. For your peer group, what do you think is the biggest thing holding somebody back from buying their first investment property? Because right now is a difficult time, right? It's like mortgage rates are high. Just the price of real estate in a lot of markets is,
It doubled.
Yeah, it's tough. I get the feeling on why somebody goes, I'll never own real estate. But what do you think is the true hurdle? Is it people don't feel like they can earn more money? Do you think people have a hard time saving it? What do you think the challenge is?
Well, it's that's a tough question, but I think my personal interpretation of it is going to be number one, no one's teaching them how to do it. They don't know that you can buy a single family investment property with 15% down. What do you mean 15%? I thought 20%. Yeah, for PMI, for a better rate, sure, but minimum down on a single family investment's 15%. Or buy a vacation house and you can rent it out no more than 6 months out of the year. You can Airbnb it for 5 months. A vacation house is only 10% down. But then house hacking. I think that's the easiest way for the first time person to, I need to
Was your first one a house hack? Or was your first property a rental property?
Yeah, it was a house hack.
Wish I would have done that.
It was a house hack that I bought in 2019 in Gilbert, Arizona, and we bought it for $275. We put 60 into it, and I partnered with my buddy. I was the money guy. We were both living in the property. He was the one that renovated all of it. He did the work, and all credit to him because I had the easy job. I just had to write the check. But 275, 60 into it in 2019. It took 2 years, 2021 came around, rates started clicking up, COVID happened, and I was like, all right, dude, like the project's done. We need to get this done now before rates are 8% like they are now. Got it done and appraised at $600,000.
Wow.
So the unfortunate part about that story is that it's because of COVID. Like,
Right.
I didn't increase the value that much with a $60,000 renovation.
Right.
But-
Right. COVID was crazy. Yeah.
To answer your question, what is the biggest thing holding a first-time home buyer back?
Or an investor. Not necessarily you're buying your first home, just owning an investment period.
I think right now with that question, it's because consumer debt is at an all-time high. You know, the credit card debt went up $190 million year over year. So we're seeing a lot of consumer debt go up, and of course that interest rate could be variable. So then rates go up, and that consumer debt just got worse.
Right.
And also personal savings is at all-time low. After people were locked up, the stimulus bills went into people's accounts. They couldn't spend it unless it was Amazon, and their stock crushed it, of course. But then things opened back up. People gladly went and spent all the money and more. They put it on credit cards. So it's probably, if we were talking to someone saying, hey, what's holding you back right now? It's probably fear. Fear because they might not know where the market's gonna go. They might not feel comfortable in their market or their asset acquisition model. Or it's, unfortunately, and I really hope it's not this one, but it's just lack of competence. If they don't know, then they are usually scared to ask. And then they're sitting there twiddling their thumbs thinking that they got to put down 20% on their first time primary home purchase. I've had a couple of those conversations the last year. I'm like, hey, no, I mean, first time home buyers right now are so heavily incentivized to gain entry into a primary residence that there's 1% down payment programs with conventional.
I saw that the other day. Somebody just launched a new 1% program. Who was it?
There's a lot.
Right.
These lenders are all kind of rolling them
No,
out.
it's like one of the big platforms.
Rocket,
Rocket
United
was
Wholesale.
There's somebody that just launched one. Blanking out who it is, but it's one of the big. It's not Zillow, but it was like something like that.
Yeah, it's probably Zillow or Open Door. They're
Right.
also, like, all these lenders kind of have the same loan programs, and then they market it their way
Right.
to spin it. But first-time home buyers on a conventional loan, which they want to see 680 or above credit usually, you can put down 3% on a primary home purchase. Right. That 3% right now has no, it's called loan level pricing adjustments, no dings. Hey, you're not putting down 5% or 10. We're going to slap you on the wrist with an extra fee because you're not putting down more. That's gone.
So you can put as little as 3.5% down and have no increased fee by doing so.
Well, I'll clean that up a little bit because the 3.5 is the FHA. So conventional first-time home buyer, you can do 3% as a first-time home buyer. Right. A second home buyer, second time needs to do 5%. But that 3% for that first-time home buyer, just checking the box, yes, they are a first-time home buyer, they get the same interest rate as 15% down. Right. Just because the market sucks and the government knows that, so rates are high. How can we incentivize people to buy houses? Low entry point with the same benefits of a high down payment. So I'm hoping that more people can at least educate themselves. Yes, planning and budgeting and getting rid of debt, but that's usually not the most important thing. It's usually, what is your plan? Because we're not in a rush to get in the wrong home. If you buy this house, how does that tie into 1 year from now, 2 years, 3, 5? Right. So I'm hoping that people can get educated, pay off debt, save money, and talk to a professional like myself, a mortgage broker specifically. Direct lenders, their rates are high, their closing costs are high. Brokers have the wholesale shop. They can compare everything. Right. So talking to a professional in order to map out that plan is probably the most important piece, because then you're doing step 5 when you're at step 1. And then you got to redo step 4 because it took longer than 30 days compared to doing step 1, 2, 3. So talking to a professional and educating. Right. Long story long.
You know what, one thing I like that you did, and I think, you know, what I would say, what I hear a lot on our social media is, yeah, this sounds awesome, but like, I don't have money. Like, yeah, if I was a millionaire, I'd just buy real estate. Your partner, that wasn't the case. Your partner found somebody that could come in with the money, and he did the work, right? Talk about that aspect of it, because people who have money need to get money to work, and you get to a point where you're not willing to sacrifice your time anymore. You're willing to pay somebody with either fees or equity to do the work for you, and then you just want your return because they're using your capital. Right. Why don't you talk about that? Because I think that should be, in theory, like a very motivating message for somebody who wants to get in real estate but just doesn't have money to do so?
Yeah, it's the simple mindset shift of I can't do this compared to how can I? So how can you buy a property with no money? Down payment assistance programs, a gift from a friend or family member, depending on the loan program. You could do a secured loan. You could, if your house or your car, if your car is free and clear, you can get a title loan. It's secured to an asset. We can use that money for the down payment. Yes, but John, I'm raising my expenses. I don't want to do that. So how else can we come up with the money? Maybe a 401k, tax-free penalty withdrawals if it's from a Roth account. So you don't have to pay that 10% penalty if you want to use a 401k. But again, well, John, I'm broke. I can't even save 3% from my paycheck. Well, if you can't save money on the back end, make more money on the front end.
Right.
And that's the harsh truth of it. No one wants to be told like, dude, get your butt up, work a couple extra hours, or learn a new skill that you can increase your value to the economy and make more money. And I'm of course biased. Sales is the best way. You can make money with sales.
That's right. So easier to make 10 than save 10?
Well, that's what, oh crap, who did that? Was it Tarl? It was at Limitless that they were running the deal on a multifamily, and they were talking about how in order to save money, there was just nothing they could scrap. But what they could do was they could charge for parking.
Right.
And they could make it a reserved and pay $50 a month. And yeah, you have higher upside, but if your mindset's not in the right place, you don't have the right resources, you don't have that cognitive ability to just double down and do what you got to do in order to accomplish your goals, you got to do that.
All right. I got two for you. One.
I also realize I haven't answered your question on partnering.
Go for it. Run at it.
Well, and we were talking about that on the drive here.
Right.
I am actually struggling with that part in my business. I have a business partner. He is my yin to my yang. I'm a great visionary. I'm very, let's move forward. He's like, all right, let's dial it back. Let's follow the budget. Let's follow the business plan. So you got to have that partnership, because Think and Grow Rich was a great book by Napoleon Hill. At the end of it, he says, 2 batteries are stronger than 1. Right. Our brain, we are a battery. Right. So 2 brains, 2 people can do more than just 1 person. So with having your yin to your yang, whether it's with capital and labor, or whether it's with operations and sales, or sales and marketing, there's always a yin to your yang, but you got to find the right partners that you can have a win-win contract with. Say, here's my expectations in order to accomplish the goal. What are your expectations to accomplish the goal? Let's put it down on paper so that there's no ifs, ands, or buts. And then when you're frustrated at 10 p.m. and you're wanting to point the finger at someone, you can just go back and be like, no, extreme ownership, this is what we put down, we're going to honor this. But most importantly, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with others. And that's stuck with me.
I love that. Okay. You're 29. You're at an age where you can take risk. The whole thing falls apart right now, right? Assets gone, job done. What do? You lose everything. Where do you start?
Well, it depends what my credit looks like. Yeah, I've heard a lot about Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Strategically, if things go to crap, you can restructure debt. So that kind of pops up in my brain as an ammunition piece that I could do more research and then keep in my back pocket.
Let's say everything's gone. You're wiped out. You're back to zero. Start over mode.
Yep.
What do you do?
I would wholesale. I would wholesale until I have enough capital to buy and hold or syndicate for the larger multifamilies in the markets that I'm comfortable with, and have the team. Like we were talking about before, if it's completely out of state, Arkansas, I know no one, that's a really risky move, even for a guy like me that I don't have kids, I'm engaged, I'm not married. So like, yeah, I can take more risk, but you got to make sure it's calculated risk. So if I could do anything, I would not be selling mortgages at 8% right now. I would be talking to sellers and solving problems. And honestly, between mortgage people and real estate agents, realtors make more money. They don't got to pay for credit reports. And it's talking to people. So I would probably go into that side of things.
Yeah, I like it. Sales the ceiling is very high on sales. You eat what you kill. wholesaling is an opportunity for you to make money without having money to get started, really. I love that. Last one. What do you think is harder? Buying a single family home or playing a round of golf at Spanish Hills?
It's definitely going to be driving off the tee at Spanish Hills. And I learned that I can hit a wood good.
You were smoking the 3-wood. The 3-wood was hot for you today.
I was like, man, the driver is like, you have to do that off the tee. No. The trick is that you also got other tools in your toolbox that you can use for the same goal. But yeah, I honestly think golf is way harder than buying a house. Just talk to a professional like myself as far as a mortgage broker, map out the plan, follow the plan, execute the plan. It's not that hard. Playing golf, hit it in a straight line every time and tell me that it's easy. Like, that is freaking hard, my opinion at least. What about you? What's easier?
Golf is the hardest thing.
Building a 42-unit apartment complex with a one-of-a-kind rotating parking. Oh, it's going to be 30 units, sorry.
Yeah. Well, look, one's scarier maybe than the other. One's more complex, but golf is the hardest thing ever. It's the only thing I've ever done that I think is harder than skateboarding. It's insane. We talked about it earlier. The thing I like about golf is it seems impossible to master. That was the thing I liked about skateboarding. It felt like I was always trying to get better in this hope of like perfection. It's impossible. And I'm like just stuck on that, trying to get there. I love that about golf.
It's always within reach, but never grab, I feel like.
Yeah, that's right. So it's the hardest thing ever.
I have another question for you. So you're obviously like multi-million-dollar projects, you're going hundreds of units, you have hundreds of millions of assets. So I imagine a lot of people look at your channel and say like, he's hit the pinnacle. Like that's the game, that's the top tier. But I imagine that there's also times where you feel like there's still challenges always. Right. So I'm curious, what resources do you reflect to or look at often in order to sharpen your craft?
That's a good question. Usually what I do, it's not just with this, I feel like it's everything that I'm trying to accomplish. I usually find somebody that is at the top. And I focus on, I view them as my competition. And I look at what they do and I'm trying to basically get to them and pass them. It's just, I've always done it. Right now, there's a handful of people that are doing what I want to be doing at a larger level than we are. And so a lot of it is just competition. It's like when I'm competing with others, it makes me better. It's like you use Grant as an example. It's like Grant's like managing $5 billion now. It's like, okay,
money bags.
We need to get to 6. Like it's just, and I think it's healthy competition, but that's usually what I end up focusing on. And I think just the art of competition creates kind of more skills throughout those who are competing.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that's probably, and I don't know, the learning, a lot of it is through mistakes actually. It's like there's things that happen that, you end up learning from, and that ends up, making you better and testing things. I think, gosh, that's actually such a good question. I think putting yourself in a position of just trying things ends up, sharpening your skill set. Being humble, like you talked about, and asking people for advice or things that they're doing. That's a risky one as you get bigger. Like as you get bigger, you tend to feel like you shouldn't ask people because you need to be the top dog,
and you have a target on your back. Yeah,
well, I don't want that person to think we don't know what we're doing. That actually limits you in a lot of ways. So I think trying to remain in a position where when you're talking to others, you feel like they have something that you don't, that puts you in a position of getting better. So I think that, and then just surrounding myself with good people, that's like a huge one,
Big one.
Yeah.
Your network is your net worth kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I have one other question personally that I'm curious of. From our conversations today, you're doing ground up construction for large multifamily projects, and you're delivering an A-class product with a B plus cost of rent. So I'm curious how a lot of investors out there will find the cheapest way to get the job done. So why is it that you're not capitalizing on charging that A premium and you're comfortable getting that B premium even though you're delivering an A product?
Well, so it's not, it depends. It doesn't always work out where you're building an A plus and charging a B plus, right? I would say you when you're moving into a market, you need to know what you can charge in that market, right? And it's sometimes dangerous to constantly pushing rents higher and higher and higher, right? You run the risk of moving forward on a deal that works because you're pushing rents beyond where the market is, and you not being able to hit it, and all of a sudden your deal starts falling apart on you,
and
right?
Vacancies at 50%.
Yeah, so we're just mindful of that. With that said, we want a good asset that's going to be here for the next 10 plus years. So I think we're looking at it through the lens of, if we build something, we're not flipping this thing. We want to hold this thing for long term. So are we building something that can last, at least a decade plus, and can we hit rents that we need to hit along the way? So I think as you build better product, you put yourself in a position where there's more probability of that happening. And then the other part about rents is we charge rents based on what the market can support, and then we run numbers on if we don't hit those numbers. We usually stress test at about 20%. What happens if we have to bring our rents down by 20? And if we do, we still need that deal to be viable. We still want a cash flowing asset. And so we're pretty strict with how we underwrite. And also, we want to lease up. We don't want a building that doesn't hit as close to 100% occupancy as possible. And if you're charging rents beyond what market can hold, you run that risk.
Churn and burn, and then vacancies, and then you're sitting there for 2 months.
Right.
So I know you had mentioned that you're pretty heavy with your reserves when you're underwriting the deals and when you're raising the capital for it. Are you still factoring in CapEx, capital expenditures, even though it's a brand new build, so nothing should go wrong?
Yeah. So okay.
There's a story.
There's parts so with our company, all of us as partners have a lot of money passively in the deals. Right? It's not just the ownership we own in the business. I think I have 75% of my net worth passively in these deals, right? So I'm mindful of that. I don't want to basically lose everything I have in the deals that we're doing. And I think because we have so much vested into the projects, we are very conservative in our underwriting. We want to make sure that we are as prepared as possible for the unknown, because that is always going to happen. In every deal we do, something that we weren't expecting is going to happen. Always. And so you try to prepare for that so that if those unexpected things happen, you still have a good asset. You still make a great return. And so, we really, really stress test our deals. And we do it on multiple factors. What happens if, our construction goes 6 to 9 months longer than expected? What happens if lease up takes an additional 6 months? What happens if we discount rents? What happens if cap rates move on us a point and a half? What happens if interest rates climb? All of these factors. And we still want to make money if those factors happen. And so we do it, I would say, selfishly, because I don't want to lose my money. And I would say the value add for investors that invest with our firm, and I think what gives new investors coming in confidence, that they look at us and go, wait a minute, you actually have your money in these deals? Okay. I feel a lot more comfortable, because if you lose, it's not just me losing money, it's you also.
Yeah, their pennies compared to your
right?
dollars.
Yeah, I think that builds confidence, and that's a question that you hear a lot of investors say, do you have skin in the game? And what you see is a lot of operators like us but they'll roll their acquisition fee into the deal, or they have money riding in that deal from a performance standpoint. When I make money, I then take that money and put it passively into the deals. We believe in what we're doing. And I think for a lot of our investors, which is 500 at this point, that has given them confidence to do business with us.
Big time.
Yeah.
So if obviously your conservative underwrite, doomsday is not going to happen. But if you wiped out everything, all the properties are gone, projects are gone, net worth is zero, what would you do? Because you're also city councilman, so you're going to double down on that.
I'm a city council member. Gosh, no. I mean, double down on city council from a financial standpoint. There's no money in it. It's just you don't do something like that to make money.
Right.
If I lost everything, and I had to start over, I'm in a different scenario now. I'm married. I have 4 kids.
Starting a beer company would be a little risky.
Honestly, if I lost everything and went to zero, I'm not sure I could start something right away. I would probably have to get some type of job going quick just for income and then work on the next company.
And benefits with 4 kids.
Yeah, honestly, the
insurance.
benefits for me, I understand the value in them. That wouldn't be my focus. If I went to zero, my first focus would be, I need money coming in right now to support my family. And knowing that every single business I've ever started, it's a year. I've never done one faster than a year. I'm not in a position now, if I'm at zero, to have my family have no money for a year, right? So I would probably have to just get some type of consistent income quick. Yeah. What that would be, I don't know. I would start calling around and try to just get a job, period. And then once I have the income coming in, I'd probably work at the next business. I don't know what that business would be though. Mm-hmm. Right now I'm focused on real estate. I love being in real estate, but I would start something. I would just get income to start the next thing.
I love this serial entrepreneur mindset. I would get the job as the temporary stepping stone, and then I would start my business. It's not and then I would find a promotion that gives me an extra 5%.
No, you know what I would do? Actually, look, I'll give you the roadmap right now as I say it. I'd have to get income quick, and then I'd probably start building out digital products.
Digital product, yeah. It's the day and age.
Yep, I'd build out something that I could just sell over and over and over without the work. I'd get my revenue significantly high quick, I think. And then from there, I'd probably start another company like this. That's more of a long-term wealth build.
Well, and you're driven for it. Your passion-filled purpose is this. Right. If you could go back in time and talk to professional, because you got signed professionally at 17?
I turned pro when I was about to be 20.
20.
Yeah, sponsored, started traveling at 18, 2 years AM, and then turned pro.
So if you could go back to that, let's say 19, 20-year-old Mikey, where you're a professional skateboarder and you just accomplished your milestone. That was a big goal of yours growing up, and then going pro, sponsor, travel. I mean, obviously that roadmap has a lot of fame to it. If you could go back to that 20-year-old Mikey, what advice would you give him?
This part's probably going to resonate for the skaters, but skateboarding is we are very opinionated, and we have a core market, and that core market is very loud, and there's zero money to be made in the core. And then we have the mainstream, and as you kind of spread further out into that, you can make a lot more money. It's not as cool.
Through the photo shoots, the sponsorships,
right.
the marketing.
I was 22 years old or so, and Paul quit S Shoes, which was the sickest core brand ever, to ride for Nike. And when he did that, I called Paul. I'm like, you are tripping. You are going to burn your career. What are you doing? I thought it was the stupidest move, right?
For a basketball shoe?
Right. And Paul goes, his response was, Mikey, these companies don't care about us. These companies don't care about us at all. Our career is like that. I'm going to go after it and get as much as I can while I'm here and build the biggest brand possible. I didn't even understand what he was telling me. It took me another 5 years to understand it. If I could have understood that at 19, that's what I would have went for. I would have focused on actually treating me as an athlete as a business.
Your personal brand.
I would have gone full in on, yes, I'm a skater. I love being a skater, but if I'm making money doing this, I would have went into business mode early. I would have stopped caring about really the core at all. I would have stopped caring about what people said or thought, and I would have just done me. Oh, if I could have understood that would have been powerful.
Your compound effects would have.
Oh yeah, I would have been a different game. Yeah. I probably lost 8 years until I figured that out.
Well,
but I learned it.
You learned it, and you capitalized when the flip switched.
Yeah, that's right. So I'll serve it right back to you. We'll end it on that.
Sure.
19-year-old you. What are you changing? What would you tell yourself?
where was I at 19? So I
It was
graduated.
only 10 years ago, bro. Come on.
Dude, I'm got to filter through the Rolodex and see what I've done in the last couple of years. 19 me was fresh out of high school. Fun fact about me, I had a Jufro, curly Jufro, fresh out of high school, and I wanted to be a police officer. So when I woke up one morning and was like, I want to be a police officer. I need to cut my hair. I need to start going to the gym. I should have added in there, I need to maximize my pre-tax savings at that age. And really, if you qualify for a Roth, go for the Roth.
Right.
Taxes are not going to go down. At least that's my opinion. So I would say contribute into that 401k. I was a lifeguard at the time, and I was making, I think, $12 an hour, working 10 hours a week. But I could have used that money instead of buying a $200 sweater. I could have just chunked that into a Roth 401k. When it went to buy a house or you transition into a new job, you just roll it into either another like 401k or an IRA.
Right.
And that's your personal. If you need to draw on that for your house purchase, the Roth contributions, the stuff that you've put in, you can take out tax-free and penalty-free. Granted, you're hindering your growth, but I might have been able to buy my first house prior to 25 if I had more savings and I knew that that was a great vehicle for growth and for out of sight, out of mind, because if it's in my accounts, I'm going to spend it.
Right.
So I would say that, savings,
Put the money in tax-free vehicle.
Yeah.
Or a tax-efficient vehicle, better way to say it.
Tax-efficient, that's a good way to say it.
Okay. That is one thing that, if you've seen the videos I've done, I made a video that went fully viral on how your money can compound over time and how you can turn what seems like a small amount into a huge lump sum tax-free. So that is phenomenal advice. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hit the like button if you did. It seriously helps with the algorithm. If you want to get notified on all our future videos, hit the subscribe button. We will see you next week.